Trevor. Trevor.
Yes.
Dude, we got to film an episode, man.
Right. I'm ready. Just need a little bit of coffee.
Hey, listen, man. I hate to say this, but are you okay? Like, you look kind of rough. I'm like, you look sleepy.
Yeah, rough. Okay. Yeah. No, I'm fine. I just got done with a 2-day lock-in. That's like when you stay with students for 2 whole days. You don't sleep for 2 days, but the kids love it.
Wait. So you haven't slept for 48 hours?
Actually, I think 62 hours because I had to preach on Sunday too, and so I had to write my message between the lock-in and church. But I'll be fine. I'll get some sleep soon.
Okay, listen. I think you may have to start saying no to some things.
I did. I said no to breakfast this morning. I said no to working out today, and I'll probably say no to going to bed early too.
Okay, those aren't good things. I think you need to like rearrange your priorities some.
Priorities. Yeah. My priority right now, sleep. Hey guys, I'm Trevor.
And I'm Stallion.
Welcome to the Youth Room. And today with us we have one of our very good friends, professor, mentor, rabbi,
Friend,
David Olshine.
Are we friends?
I mean, I like to think that.
so.
Would you just introduce yourself real quick to everybody?
David Olshine. I professor at Columbia International University, where these yo-yos graduated from.
Go
So I
Rams.
love these
Go Rams.
guys. And teach youth ministry, family, and culture. Been there 25 years. And I've been married 37 years.
That's good.
And I have 2 kids, Ray, Rachel, and Andrew.
Good.
Great wife, great kids.
Well, listen, I just want to say for the get-go, like, it's a pleasure to have you come spend time with us. We
awesome.
both went to CIU. We're graduates of the CIU program and had a chance to learn underneath you, be taught by you, and I'm just really grateful for that. It's impacted our ministry.
You're still not allowed to talk about our grades, right? Even on camera, still.
You didn't do very well.
Moving on. So, Olshine, we brought you in, though, because we want to talk not about grades. We want to talk more about how do we, as youth ministers, as youth workers, as volunteers,
Right.
how do we make sure that we are healthy as possible? That way, what's happening outside of the 4 walls can positively impact what's happening inside the 4 walls of the youth room. How do we become best at our ministry by staying healthy?
You know, there's a book that came out years ago called Man in the Mirror, and it was a kind of a man book, but I kind of got that idea that it's the person that I'm looking at in the mirror, which is me. I am responsible for me.
Yeah.
I have to take care of me, and I have to manage my life. And I think a lot of us have been critical of other people because they manage other people's lives well, but they don't manage their own.
That's true.
And so for me, I learned it from Rhonda, my wife, years ago, that you can't feed other people well if you're not feeding yourself. And if you're not, and the idea is that taking care of yourself is selfish, but it's actually very healthy.
Yeah.
It's actually probably very selfish, very self-focused to always be thinking about pouring into others. Now, mind you, Scripture says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and love your neighbor. So there is a difference.
Yeah.
There is a priority that my first connection is Jesus, and then people. If I reverse that and I spend all my time pouring into people, eventually what's going to happen is I'm going to spend all this time trying to please people as well. And you know where that goes. It goes nowhere. So I think the initial priority of life is we made a decision one day when I was 18, you were younger. How old were you when you came to Jesus?
16.
So you made that decision, I'm going to enter into this covenant, this relationship with Jesus. And then we have those moments of being poured into by the Lord and being loved and feeling His grace and sensing His presence. And then there's those moments that we're empty. And so part of the minister's outlook is this incredible, delicate balance of juggling. And I juggle being a dad and a husband and a professor and a speaker and a writer and a mentor and by the way, I have to cut the grass and I have to take my kid to special needs basketball. I have to do this. And so it's incredibly challenging to do that. And so when I start to lose my relationship focus with Jesus, then everything it starts going downhill.
So what I'm hearing you say is kind of a picture in my head of like, you fly on an airplane somewhere and the guys get up front and they're like, hey, listen, put your seatbelt on, do all these things. And if the cabin pressure changes, these things will drop out of the ceiling. Put yours on first. then put on the person next to you or the kid next to
I
you.
feel like I've heard this analogy before. Have you heard
Yeah.
this?
Last time was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but this happens all the time.
Yeah, it does.
But even that happens, I'm thinking this seems so backwards that you
Yeah.
would take care of yourself first, then the other person. But I guess, like you're saying, if we're not healthy ourselves, we have nothing to offer.
Yeah, I
anybody
think it's
else.
very counterintuitive. I think I was taught for years and years, pour out to people. They need you, they need you, they need you. But when you're on your deathbed, you're not going to be asking for more lock-ins.
That's right.
And you're not going to be asking for more time to have one more Bible study with a group of students. You're going to say, and ultimately you're going to have to be responsible for your own spiritual life and your own soul. And so I think that takes great wisdom. I think it involves having supportive people around me that can speak into my life. And early in our marriage, there would be times when my wife would say, I need you more than the youth group.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that.
That's good.
Yeah, I would imagine there's some people listening today that need to hear that today, like that are running 100 miles an hour, that are going too fast, and if not careful, they're getting to a dangerous kind of place.
Yeah.
So that being said, what are some dangers or some maybe marks that would say, hey, listen, I'm getting to a territory that if I'm not careful, I could find myself in a bad place?
I think on the, quote, spiritual side, immediately we work on sermons and Bible studies for the sake of other people than just us. But I think even below the waterline is grumpy, complaining, negative, and then fatigue.
Yeah.
I think we get tired. I think we get restless. I used to struggle a lot with wanderlust, like how long am I supposed to stay in this job at this time?
Yeah.
And I think a part of my wanderlust was not being grounded enough in that, in my relationship with Jesus. And always looking for what's the next thing? Am I supposed to be this guy or this guy? Like, no. You're supposed to be David Olshine.
Wow.
And just rest in that.
So what's like the biggest thing we can do? Like, how do we fight this, or how do we take care of ourselves or take care of our souls? What's like, top thing?
If you're looking for a top 2 or 3 practical ways to implement soul care, first is identifying a Sabbath. Okay? And you work hard on Sundays. You work hard on Sundays. Now that I'm not in the local church on a day-to-day basis, Sunday's not a big issue for me anymore. So Sunday can become a Sabbath for me. But when I was local church youth pastor and lead pastor for 23 years, Sunday was not my Sabbath.
Definitely not.
It was a hard day. It was a work day. So I tried Monday for a while. That kind of worked, but not great. Tuesday was okay, but that was our staff day. Wednesday was terrible because it was Bible study night, blah, blah, blah. So then I landed on Thursday for a long time. Our church staff in Tulsa wanted us to take Fridays. I didn't like that because I was a chaplain of a football team. So Friday was a work day. So what I started doing is I started taking Thursdays as my Sabbath. I'd go in on Friday. Nobody was in the building.
Awesome.
Out of this big mega church, nobody was there but me and like 3 secretaries. And I would get so much administration done. So I don't think there's not a one size that fits all. There's not a cure all. Like everyone should take Wednesday or Thursday. I think everyone has to figure that out.
You got to find your own.
And for some people, do a baby step. If you can't do 12 hours or 24, do a small incremental. Like my friend Jim Burns, he would say, think of a day in 3 blocks: morning block, afternoon block, evening block. Well, on a Wednesday, if you have Wednesday staff and you have Wednesday youth group, then you take 2 or 3 hours in your day to say goodbye church building. I'm going to, and hopefully you're prepared for Wednesday night that you can do that. And that's working ahead a little bit to set those margins and set those boundaries. The second thing besides Sabbath is play. I think a lot of youth workers, they don't play enough. And so I saw this beautiful picture. I think it was your son.
Yeah.
He was out there fishing. He just a little solitude time. So I think youth workers have to restore. I talked about prayer early, but I think we need to restore play. And then third, probably have some diversion, have some hobbies, whether it's reading or my wife loves gardening. You like building things with your dad.
I like that.
So for you, how did you learn this lesson? I know sometimes people learn this in a really, really hard way. Some people maybe learn because they have a good rabbi who teaches them. But how did you learn this lesson?
I'm not sure that I've ever experienced the classical burnout. And I think because my last semester of my seminary career at Asbury Seminary, my professor, Dr. John Joy, came and he grabbed my roommate Dan Hawk and I, who's a prolific writer, and he's a professor of Old Testament Hebrew at Ashland Seminary in Ohio. He and I were walking down the hallway, and Don Joy grabbed us and said, "Come here, boys," and he took us into this room, and we're like, "What did we do?" Because we were always causing trouble. And he said, "I need to talk to you two just for 5 minutes." We're like, "Okay." He said, "You two have more electricity in your being than anyone I've ever met, and I'm concerned about you guys."
Oh, wow.
And we were like, "What are you concerned about?" He goes, "I'm concerned that you're going to fry in ministry, that you're going to drown, you're going to burn out." I don't think he said burn out, because nobody's using those words then. And he said, "I want you guys to promise me one thing." We're like, "Okay, what's that?" "Take a Sabbath." And he started unpacking. That means learning to say no to certain things, learning to fast from certain things, learning to have margins and boundaries. And I don't know they used all that lingo, but he was basically saying, find one day based on on Exodus 20, and I think Exodus 34, 6 days you shall work.
Yep.
But day 7, don't. And even God rested. And so I took that and I said, I'll try as much as I can before God. I'll try to promise that. Within weeks, I went to a church interview, and they asked me, "Do you have any more questions?" I said, "Yeah. What's your view on Sabbath? What's your view on days off?" And they everyone was looking around nervously, and we're like, "We don't know." And the senior pastor goes, "I don't take one. I mean, I don't really need one." He goes, "I don't expect lay people to take one. I don't take one." Well, 2 years after that, he literally burned out.
Wow.
But I remember saying in that meeting, "I promise you, I work my tail off. I work my fanny off for 6 days. But day 7, whatever that day will be, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I don't know what day, I won't be in this building, and I won't be available." And now, I turn my phone off, and people will get me like, "Why don't you text me?" Well, because it's my day off.
Yeah.
So I think that there's margins and there's boundaries. I think there's little things we can do to protect ourselves. And have you ever noticed how it works? Someone sent you a little nasty email, okay? And you're like, "Do I respond back?" "No, probably shouldn't." "All right, I will." And there's 2 emails, 3 emails, 4 emails, 5 texts, 6 texts.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, now you're emotionally all worked up about it. And all of a sudden, you're what you're tended to be a great day of just chill and relax. Now you're all worked up, and your head emotionally is back in church work.
Yeah. Well, if some of our viewers or someone wants to find more information about this, or what do you recommend to people? What do you see your brother?
Great lead question. Peter Scazzaro, who got his doctorate at Eastern, where I did, it's called The Emotionally Healthy Spirituality. He just talks a lot about margins. He talks about knowing your limits, that we're fully human, that you have to have Sabbath and rest. And it's just it's a very practical book on learning how to say no and learning what you're saying no to, when you need to say yes, and when you need to say yes, what things you say no to.
Yeah.
So figuring out your motivation.
Yeah, no, for Stallion, the reason we got into even doing this podcast is because we want to see youth ministries be as healthy as possible all across the country. And so thank you for coming and spending time with us.
Absolutely.
We'd love to hear from you guys, too. What are some ways that you keep your soul healthy, some of the ways that you keep yourself healthy, Sabbath, and everything else? Comment below. Also, make sure you subscribe and share it with somebody else. And
We'll see you next time.
Can I say one more thing?
yes.
Can I say one more thing?
Go quick.
Yes.
Jesus was the maestro of balancing soul care. He was always running away from the crowds
That's right.
to get alone. But when he was with the crowds, he was fully present. And so you asked in the earlier comments when we were talking earlier, is this an extrovert or introvert thing? I think introverts do better at pulling away, and I think we extroverts have trouble not pulling away, but I think it can be learned.
That's right.
That's good.
Well, listen, thanks, man. Thank you. We'll see you next time in the Youth Room.